Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about getting older. I know this is going to be a fun Friday, so I'm going to keep it light, but I'm just going to talk to you about what getting older feels like. Because I've gone from being the absolute youngest person on a game dev team, because I started when I was 16, to now being the oldest at 60. Now I don't want to talk about ageism, I have a whole video about that. So I don't need to repeat all that here. You probably do want to watch it. I'll link it in the description. Because what surprises me the most about ageism is we're all getting older. And when I watch someone be ageist, I'm like, you're going to be in that group that you're making fun of. And pretty soon, some of you. In fact, one person, I'm like, you're in that group already. But I think it was more of I think they thought if they fought against the older person, they were fighting against their own aging. I don't know. This is why I don't try to guess what goes on in people's heads. But I also don't want to talk less necessarily about lessons I learned, especially about game development as I got older, because I've got a whole video on that. And I did learn a lot. My perspectives have changed. My lenses have changed. And I think that's a good thing. And so if you want to watch that video, I'll link that below too. Instead, I just want to talk about kind of like what it feels like, my perspective on life as I'm becoming older, both, and I will end up talking a lot about being a gamer and a game developer. But first, let me give you I think about age sometimes in terms of a car. I've never been a car person. Cars are just something I use to get from point A to B. But in a car analogy, I'm an older car. I'm an older model. I'm not up on blocks and I'm not up on cinder blocks in the yard. But I do need more maintenance than modern cars. Maybe my oil needs to be checked a little more frequently. However, my check engine light is not on yet. I do find myself going to the doctor and the dentist more. Things shrink, they swell, they fall off, and they just need to be tended to. And I do that. But I can tell you this, I can still outperform some of those newer models, with their fancy gadgets and their digital touchscreen displays. I can tell you this, my knobs are just as good. Anyway, but with age comes a kind of sadness, a kind of loneliness, a kind of isolation that it's hard to imagine when you're younger. And I think about this too, because I used to hate when people would say to me, you'll understand that when you get older. And there are a few things that I just understand a lot better now that I'm older. I'm not smarter. I don't even think it's wisdom. It's just when you have enough things happen, when you start to collect experiences, you start to be able to generalize from that. And I've lost both my parents. Both my parents have passed away. I've lost relatives. I've lost friends and coworkers. With the exception of one, they were all younger than me. And that hits you kind of different. But also, everything feels like it's changing. Music, television, society, politics, video games. What's weird is they've always been changing. It's not that they're changing now and things never used to change. It's that the change seems to be accelerating. And by that I mean more things are changing and the rate at which they're changing is greater, so they're changing faster. And it's really, really hard to keep up. When you're young, since everything's new, you kind of accept it, this is how things are. But as you get older, you realize this is not how things used to be, which means it makes you feel like this isn't the way things have to be. It also makes you go, gee, I'll just wait a little while and things will change and be different again. There's this form of stoicism that happens where you're like, I'm just going to wait and see how this plays out. I do find that in the whole change system, I like to pick and choose my battles. So some things I try to keep up with and other things I don't. Like I still listen to ambient a lot, so I listen to all the new ambient music I can find. I'm constantly just telling music streaming services to play ambient music so that it'll just throw things out as recommendations, and I love that. One rule I found, because I was telling a friend about a funny Saturday Night Live, and I love that Saturday Night Live is still on the air. That's been on TV as long as I can remember. My entire life, there's been a Saturday Night Live. But what I said to her was, I recognized the host, but I'd never heard of the band before. And I think that's my new role going forward. I hope to stay in touch enough that if a new Saturday Night Live comes out, I want to at least know who the host is. I may not recognize the band. I still watch the musical segments and see if I like their music, but I want to know who the host is. At least like, oh, are they from that TV show or that movie or whatever? So I still enjoy things now that I'm older, because I have some friends who are getting older that are kind of like, and they instead listen to the music they listened to 10, 20 years ago, and they like to watch the same TV shows. I do too, but I also like to enjoy new things. And recently I had this weird feeling of guilt. Like, should I be enjoying these new things? Because some of them aren't made for me. I watch a show and I'm like, yeah, I'm not the demographic for this show. But also there's this feeling of guilt because I think of all these friends and family members and coworkers who aren't around to enjoy these things anymore, and it makes you feel a little guilty. But then I hear my mom just saying, of course you can enjoy these things. Of course you can. Because she did. I've told you before, my mom raised 5 kids on her own with severe rheumatoid arthritis that kicked in between kid 4 and me. So I wasn't the cause of it. I wasn't even around. And she was told not to have kid 5, but she decided to have kid 5 because she knew kid 5 would be the best kid. That's another indication of how awesome my mom is. But she raised 5 kids, and with very little money and very little help from my dad, and she was happy, and so were all the kids. And it just made me go, okay, the world went on. There was a situation that wasn't the best, and my mom was just like, this is not going to make me or the kids not be happy. And I think about that a lot now that I'm getting older, because I realize there's a choice you can make. And when I was thinking of doing this video, I was thinking of a neighbor I had in the 5 years I was up in Seattle recently. There was a neighbor of mine that I'd see walk by with his dog. He was about 10 or 15 years older than me, so he was already retired and widowed. He was recently widowed. Because I would go out with Abby and I'd meet him, and what was interesting was the dog he walked was a Newfie. And if you've ever met a Newfie in real life, they're very big dogs. Not just tall dogs like a Great Dane, but also very big and shaggy. It looked like he was walking a bear. And some people would cross to the other side of the street. Just like my neighbor had a pit bull, same thing would happen. But Abby likes everything on the planet. So Abby would be like, I want to meet that dog. We'd go over, the dogs would be checking each other out, and we'd be talking. And his Newfie came over and kind of headbutted me, because Newfies are really big. And when they wag their tail, their whole back end wags. It's like the tail wags the dog. It's like I've never seen a Newfie just wag its tail. It wags its whole back end. And it came over and it was like pushing its head into me. And then it pulled back and it had slobbered all over my jeans. And not just like a droplet of slobber. Newfies can produce buckets. I mean, I was soaked. And the neighbor apologized and said, nope, I'm honored. It means your dog likes me and is comfortable. And I can always wash the jeans, but I always want to pet your dog. Over the 5 years I lived there, I watched my neighbor get visibly older. I got visibly older. I got grayer while I lived there. But he got visibly older and slower, but so did the dog. Dogs age so much faster than we do. And that Newfie went from bounding to shuffling to one day I met the neighbor while I was out walking Abby, and there was no dog. And he told me the Newfie had passed away. And he was obviously very sad about it. And I didn't see him for a week or two. Then I saw him walking a new dog, a new Newfie. And by the way, Newfie puppies can be pretty big. It already looked like a dog. Like, it was just a little smaller than Abby. And happy dog, guy was happy, Abby was happy, I was happy. Different dog. I know he misses his old dog, but he's got a new dog, and the dog is happy, and he gave that dog a home. That's what I think, like, if I had to compress getting older into one anecdote, that's what I think of. As you get older, yes, you're going to experience a lot of sad things, and they're going to build up. But so do happy ones. And I can tell you, as I get older, I don't want to miss out on either one. I don't want to miss out on the sad things, and I certainly don't want to miss out on all the happy things that I know are coming down the pipe. And that, if I can think of like one thing that getting older makes me think of, it's that. It's acknowledge that you're going to have some sad times, But know there's going to be a lot of happy times that come down, or that are about to happen too, and look forward to those. And I think of my neighbor walking his older Newfie and now his new Newfie. And that just makes me smile. And I think that's, in a nutshell, everyone's experience getting older. Anyway, I hope you all have a good Friday.